Welcome, Drink with James, episode 158. I have my favorite blazer on today. I think this is the first Drink with James appearance of the Madras blazer this summer. If you guys have been with me for a while, I think I got this last year. I borrowed it once for Drink with James, and then I borrowed it again for the Veuve Clicquot Polo Classic, and then I sweat just terribly. It was like Veuve last year was like 100 degrees, so I'm just sweating through the blazer, and I bring it back to Drake's, and I was like, here you go, and they're like, it was not good. I don't know, I didn't dry clean it because it still had the tags on it, so I returned it to Drake's after borrowing it from Veuve. And then it finally went on sale 50%. So I actually bought the one that I had soiled at the Veuve Clicquot. So I think they were just kind of holding it off to the side, being like, we can't actually sell this anymore because this kid ruined it. But I did the right thing and waited until it was 50% off and then bought it.
Did you do the right thing though?
I did the right thing. So welcome. Tonight we are doing an art show. Funny enough, my barber happens to be a talented painter, and I went to his studio in Bushwick a month or so ago and was blown away with the work. And it's this big 6 by 8 foot paintings, really dramatic. And we obviously the new office space is so big, and I thought the paintings would be great in here. So he's doing a show here tonight, and excuse me. I think one of the most fun things about running this business is, especially as it's grown, is the ability to help people. The ability to kind of use whatever it is that you have, your position in the industry, money, office space, whatever it is. It's really fun for me to be able to help people out. I know that I only my entire career is the result of people taking a chance and kind of helping me when they shouldn't have. So I like to try and do that. And I think that for the influence, for y'all, you have this following, you have the ability to shine light onto, injustice in the world, people who are doing great things, small brands that you really believe in, whatever it is. If you're feeling burned out or you're feeling, uninspired, I think a good way to kind of kick that in the ass is to just start doing things for other people. Start using your feed to help other people, and in a way that doesn't help you at all. I mean, this kid's got, I don't know how many people coming here tonight. We're buying the booze. We're not, if he sells a bunch of paintings, we're not taking any money. This is really no reason for me to do this. I'm not saying I'm a great guy. I didn't really fucking do anything. I had the office space. I was like, if you want to hang your paintings, invite your friends, be my guest. It's a small thing, but again, you don't know what the small things that you do for someone, what they could eventually turn into, right? Erica Behrman hired me to shoot an event and paid me $300 in 2012, and I wouldn't be sitting here today running this company if that didn't happen, right? So that small thing set off a lot of other things, which eventually changed my life completely. Most people have that thing, and I think as an influencer, someone who has a following, you can be a part of that story for someone or for some brand. So if you haven't done anything nice for someone in a while, maybe it's time. But that's the end of that rant. What else was I going to talk about? Oh,
that was great.
Let's go to the other side of that coin, right? How can you use Instagram to be a complete piece of shit? I don't know if you guys saw those 2 photographers that got called out for being predatory and abusive and creepy to women. This is nothing new in photography, right? Terry Richardson, who is not only not very talented, I think, but also like a complete scumbag and total predator, and I'm glad that people have stopped working with him. You know, the Instagram photographers who were asking for nudes before they would shoot, or they were like being sexually abusive to women on set. You know, I think obviously, we talked about this a little bit last week, like the internet, I'll make a broad generalization here, so excuse me for that, but like the internet is a different place, I think, for women, and men are in general just terrible, and like total embarrassments to humanity. And I think that like when I was shooting, I came up with a lot of people, and once they got a following, they started doing like these test shoots for models at modeling agencies, and it always felt creepy to me. Like I was never comfortable shooting a woman like in their underwear or anything like that, because it just, taking someone's photo, it was so intimate already, and it's like, it creates this like connection that doesn't really exist, but I think that like it just gets, I think it some photographers take advantage of that and take advantage of their power to, you know, try and be surrounded by really beautiful women, to feel like they have some power over them. If you're young and you're out there trying to like make a name for yourself, I think that, you know, shooting with a bunch of random male photographers who have a big following, you know, it is a potentially dangerous thing. And I think I would watch out for the type of person, you know, I would do your research on, you know, the photographer that you're shooting with. Because I think it is again, I'm gonna this is my show, so I can make sweeping generalizations. I always thought the male photographers who mostly shot scantily clad women, that there was just something wrong with them. Like that, like the reason they were doing it, for me, felt wrong and off. And I would just say, again, having been in that community, you look at someone's account and you're like, that person feels like they'd be a little creepy, and then you talk to people and they're creepy. There's a lot of creepy, weird photographers out there. So be careful. Bring a friend, you know, like whatever you have to do to protect yourself, you know, if you're shooting alone with a photographer being like, I'm gonna bring my friend because I don't feel comfortable. If they're like, oh, that's not okay, then like, that's a big red flag. So be careful out there. Let's keep calling out these scumbags. There are amazing people out there in the community. There are amazing, respectful photographers. There are amazing photographers that shoot nudes, men and women, who are really respectful and kind and amazing people. Let's make sure we work with those people and not with shitheads, right? Even really talented shitheads. It is not okay. So, end rant. Question number 1 is, should I be tracking saves as a performance metric for your account? First, absolutely. I think we said before on the show that like saves are like a super like, I think. You know, I see it as, again, think about why you would save something, because you want to see it later, right? So it's like, there's liking it, which is like, I want you to know that I saw this and I liked it, right? There's no other real reason to like a post. And saving it is like, I want to look at this later. So I think looking at the posts that get the most saves is really interesting to understand what your audience is kind of connecting with. And we had a data scientist on our team look through the data on thousands and thousands of posts, I think 50,000 posts, to pull out insights of like what is working, what posts are getting saved more than others. And number one, and this is obvious, but sometimes the obvious stuff is important to hear again. It's like posts that have tips or, you know, hacks or something like that, right? Like it makes sense. you leave some, photography tip, or this is how I do my makeup, or this is, a DIY trick I learned. Obviously that is something that if it's interesting, you're gonna want to come back to, so it makes sense that a lot of people will be saving that. When I saw this study, it kind of, there's like a little light bulb that went off in my head. It's just like, oh, in our campaigns, we should be pushing influencers more to try and, give tips, give something that is savable in the content. Because again, we talk about like educate, inspire, or entertain, right? Like those are the three things a post needs to do. If it doesn't educate, inspire, or entertain, then it's probably self-serving. It's probably like, I think I look good here, so I'm gonna post this. Or I just feel like posting this, or I'm getting paid to post this, so I'm gonna post that, right? Post needs to inspire, educate, entertain. So educate, right? Like, if you don't know what to say, or if you feel like your content is not doing that well, I think a good thing for everyone to do maybe this week is just like, try and do a post this week where you teach your audience something, And I think lists are good, right? Like in the captions, you can be like, hey, like here's 5 things that I learned about this. Or, here is what I do when, I think I just saw Quigley, what's her account name? Officially Quigley. She's been doing like mad long captions recently, which have been doing really well. I think she just did one that was like, here's what I do when I'm in a creative rut, and how she gets out of that. Things like that, like take this week, try and do one post that you feel like is something you can teach your audience, be really explicit about it, and then look at the saves. Let's see if that becomes one of your most saved posts. I think it will. I think that it's a good metric to start tracking, and maybe once a week you can start kind of pulling some sort of tip or something in. Obviously, all the content at 4 is that, right? The content that does the best is always stuff that's teaching you guys something, right? It's never like, hey, we're launching this new thing. Hey, we did this really exciting campaign that we're super proud of. Like, you might be like, cool, yeah, you guys did a good job. That is cool, but like, I don't really give a shit. Like, what does that have to do with me? So the content that does great for us is when we're teaching you something, right? Like, because it is valuable to you. So take that lesson, whatever it is, and try and teach your audience something this week, and look at the saves and see if you can do better than normal. So she's on episode 15 of Foreground. She talks about long captions, why she writes them, why she loves them. Maybe she also explains why the hell her Instagram is called Officially Quigley.
She does actually.
There we go. Question 2 is, what are my thoughts on more editorial content? So we've talked about this a good amount, right? Like, we talked about Taylor's article from The Atlantic of like, is the Instagram aesthetic dead? Is like editorial perfect, beautiful imagery, is that what works on Instagram anymore? The world would say no. The data kind of says no, but there are outliers that do work, right? Like, obviously we talk about Tezza all the time. She's crushing it. Everything she's doing is really, really editorial. Obviously I talk about Jamie Beck all the time. Hi, Jamie. Every time I mention Jamie on the show, she screenshots the like where I mention her with like a smiley face. So hello, Jamie. She's doing really well. Margot and me was on the show. She's doing great. Like, editorial can work. It is a harder path that gets you, to a similar place if you're trying to build a following. But in researching this and thinking about this question, I've been like into what Crystal Bick and IG have been doing recently. They did they've been recreating movies as like these shoots with Grant Legan. They did one for what was the like silly face? Is that what was it?
I don't remember the names of the movies.
They did one that was like I don't know, some fucking old ass movie.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, some old ass movie. They did like a Notebook one at Coney Island, which like what a turd of a movie that is, but I digress. And then, I mean, really, that movie is absolute trash.
Do you not believe in love, James?
I mean, not that kind of love. No, I don't. The latest one they did was Roman Holiday. So I was interested because like they are putting a shitload of effort into these things, right? Like these are multi-day, multi-look shoots with Grant, who is like very busy and doesn't do this kind of stuff offhand. They're renting studio space. They're going to Coney Island. I mean, have you ever been to Coney Island? Like it is far, okay? Like I go to...
Have you ever been to Coney Island?
I've been to Coney Island like once, and I drove. Like that shit, just taking the F train to Coney Island. I mean, you take your life into your hands in a lot of ways, and it's like 2 hours on the subway. You know.
That's your yearly quota.
Yeah. So I was like, why are they doing this? Is it working? So, you know, one, they're on their third shoot. Their accounts were both stalled growth-wise, and they have started to grow. So, you know, the first time in months, they have started to grow recently, which is interesting. We'll keep kind of tracking it as they keep rolling these things out. But I talked to IG and Crystal and you know, about why they're doing this. And for them, you know, similar, I think, to Grace Atwood and what we've heard from other people on the show, like, this is just what they want to do. You know, Crystal loves Editorial. IG is like, you know, a walking, beautiful mannequin. I don't think he's a real person, honestly. Like, I always expect, like, his face to open and, like, a little robot to pop out. Not saying IG's a robot, but he seems, like, too perfect to be real. Anyway, so I talked to them about it, like, why are you doing this? So they both had similar feelings of, like, the engagement wasn't amazing. They didn't expect it to be amazing. They have gotten, like, a great, like Crystal said, if I ask my audience if they want this type of content, they absolutely would say no. They want more in the moment, less so Editorial. But when she publishes it, she feels like she gets a big outpouring of support and love for it. IG posts, like, sometimes he'll post like 5 photos in a day. He says when he does that, you know, each photo, the engagement is not great. He does say he gets a huge amount of profile visits because people feel like they missed something. I think, again, thinking about Instagram and the algorithm, anything that you do on someone's feed, like I was doing this research on IG yesterday and I was on his feed a bunch. I didn't like anything, but I was just on his feed scrolling through, opening photos, things like that. Today, I had like 3 of his old photos in my feed. So like any action you can get from Instagram, I don't think it necessarily has to be likes on your account. It's gonna do good things for the algorithm. IG has crazy high reach as well in general. So that was interesting that he said that, like, he does the drops, like he publishes like all the content kind of at once, and says, like, I know the engagement's not gonna be good, but it's gonna create more of a moment. It's gonna be harder to miss it. And I think that it's interesting for them to like shoot these campaigns and like publish them at like the same time. Because yeah, it's very different than kind of how people generally use Instagram. So if you don't follow Crystal and IG, I would definitely have a look at what they're doing. I think it's really exciting and fun and beautiful. And it totally, again, goes against everything that you should be doing on Instagram, but I think it's starting to work for them. And I think that, like, again, sorry to mention Jamie again, but we talked about how, like, she was stagnated for years. And, like, when she really leaned into the thing she's doing in Provence, for a year of doing it, her following didn't grow. And then after that year, it started to grow. And I think, if I had a theory about, like, if Crystal and IG kept doing stuff like this, is that, like, on the 10th one, it would start doing really well, you know, and that, like, it will eventually drive growth. But anything that you're doing, any new type of content, like, yes, you're looking for that immediate, like, does the audience like it? Like, for both of them, they say that they're, like, the way they know they have, like, product market fit, that the audience likes it, is DMs that they're getting. Like, they're getting a lot of DMs about it. So once you have that, you're like, cool, this is a concept people like. Then you just need to be consistent, you need to do it over and over and over again to really see if it works. And I think if you're gonna bring a new like editorial aspect into your feed, or if you're gonna try something new, be it YouTube, you're gonna bring cooking in, you wanna do more home stuff, whatever it is, if you're tracking the performance of that and that's something you care about, you wanna know week one, does it have product market fit? Do people care about this? Should I spend my time on this? You should be able to answer that question within the first couple of times you publish something. And then after that, give it, I'd say 3 months to really see if the attention stays or if people kind of get bored and kind of drift away, and if it's something that you consistently want to do. Question number 3, is hiding likes going to hurt influencers? No. Okay, so hiding likes is coming. It's obvious, right? It's in Australia, a bunch of other fucking countries I don't remember. But it's going to happen. You're still gonna be able to see your likes, as you know. There is this there's this thing people keep saying, I see on Twitter and in articles that like, this is gonna hurt influencers, or this is some reaction against influencers, and Instagram is doing this because they don't want influencers to be as popular. I mean, that's fucking crazy, first of all. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. That is in no way, shape, or form why Instagram is doing this. They are doing this so people post more. End of story. That's it. That's the only reason they're doing it, so people post more. The reason they're testing it is to see if that theory is correct. It's going to happen. They're not, that's it. It's gonna happen. You can come and take my fucking job if it doesn't happen. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna hurt influencers at all. Now, it will be a little harder for brands to assess like an influencer's, like right off the bat. It'll be harder for brands because they won't see the likes. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because most brands are still finding influencers by just like searching through Instagram. I don't know if they have a plan to release some platform for brands where they can get behind that and see the likes. I don't know if having a verified brand account, maybe the brand will be able to see the likes and other people won't. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do for that. I'm sure they will take care of it. But for influencers, this is going to be amazing, right? Just because like you can stand to publish some things that don't get a lot of engagement because you just want to publish them. So I am really excited about it. I don't listen to anything that's like, this is bad for influencers, or if some way this is like a reaction against influencers. This is going to be great for our space. It's going to be great for influencers. I think it's going to make the platform more fun again. I think people will just enjoy posting more. Anyway, I see this stuff going around. I just want to talk about it because I think a lot of people write about this space without any understanding of it whatsoever. And Instagram understands the power of influencers. They understand that like, you guys are the power users, and while you're not driving, a huge amount of the revenue, and you're not driving a huge amount of the platform, without influencers in the platform, it gets a lot less interesting. Think of it like Netflix, right? Like, does Netflix need to exist? Question. We're gonna see, right? Like, the question for Netflix long term is like, is their original programming interesting enough to justify the cost of a subscription? Because they're losing Friends, they're losing The Office, they're losing all of these things. And if you think about Instagram, it's kind of like Netflix, right? Like, you guys are on there, you are creating all this, like, you think about like Kim Kardashian, like the big people on the platform, right? If they all en masse left, that would be really bad for Instagram. they know that they need to, like, Kim Kardashian is like Instagram's friends, you know, like it's not, sure, like in the grand scheme of things, 1 or 2 or 10 or 1,000 accounts aren't that important. But they know that, like, if they lost that community, who are their, like, you know, most ardent fans, biggest users, all of that, it would probably be the, like, beginning of a shift away from the platform. That's exactly what happened at Tumblr, is that Tumblr started losing a lot of interesting people to Instagram, and they went, and then their audiences went, and then everyone was on Instagram and was like, oh, this is kind of better, I like this more, and they just slowly stopped coming back to Tumblr, and then it died. So Instagram knows that. They're not gonna do anything to try and fuck up what's going on. Like right now, they're literally printing money, so they're just trying to, like, keep staying competitive, but not rock the boat too much. So likes, hiding likes is going to be great. You guys are gonna love it. Everyone get excited. I'm gonna go to an art show now.